Hello folks, in this one we're comparing onto car subscriptions to car leasing. Which one makes the most sense? Is it always the same? There are more twists and turns in this video than a twisty-turny thing, so keep watching. So yeah, this is a kind of a three-part evolving story as this video goes on. So I'm only looking at Onto, which is quite a popular EV car subscription service. There are loads of subscription services around at the moment, but Onto seems to be a popular one. Obviously, I may do more videos like this in the future as the subscription thing sort of develops a bit more. You might be really surprised with a couple of different things that you see in this. I certainly was. My initial reaction to car subscription was that it was a rip-off. All the prices I'd seen seemed absolutely mental, and that's no longer the case, but not in every situation. So watch this one all the way through and make your own mind up, and maybe you're one of the people that it's going to really work out well for. Watch it, make your own mind up. As you know, I'm not involved in car leasing, I'm not involved in car finance. My only involvement is making these videos. So this is really just my honest thoughts on it and nothing more than that. I hope you like the video, and speaking of likes, give this one a thumbs up. I'm trying to get a record number of likes. I put a lot of effort into this video, and I'm trying to get to a wider audience, so please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Fascinating fact is that only 18% of the people watching this video at the moment, like you, are subscribed. Only 18%. That means 82% of you are not subscribed. So let's turn that upside down. Let's have as many subscribers as possible, because I produce a lot of car finance content, a lot of car leasing content, a lot of used car content, and if you like this video, you'll probably like some of those, so please subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay guys, so this is Onto. It's on.to is the website address, because that's wacky, isn't it? There's been lots of marketing around these guys, all-inclusive electric car subscription, and that says it all really. So what do we mean by all-inclusive? 1 month commitment, no more 3-year contracts. Decide monthly whether you want to continue, swap or stop. 1 month commitment, no deposit, insurance is included, charging is included. So you can charge the car at, I think it's 11,000 electric charging stations for free. Servicing's included, breakdown covers included, road tax included, and 1,000 miles per month are included. So that's the sort of general premise of it. And you have to pay to have a car delivered or removed from you. I think it's about 50 quid. You give them like a month's notice, and either cancel car or get a new one delivered, so swap it for something else. So this month you might be in this VW Up, next month you might fancy the ID3 or this Audi e-tron or something. They can make that happen for you, and everything's controlled via the app. So unlock and drive, I think that's literally what I think the car's delivered. You unlock it with your phone and off you go. So there you go, it's a brave new world, ladies and gents. We're going to go on some specific examples now, and I'm going to look at the deal that they're advertising and against a comparable lease deal, and we're going to do that for 3 different cars. We're going to start off with Renault Zoe, we're then going to look at a VW ID3, we're then going to look at Tesla Model 3, and we'll look at if it represents good value to subscribe rather than lease. That's going to be the first part of this, is looking at those 3 cars and looking at the value really. And then finally, we're going to look at who this is for. Who does it make sense for? I'm just looking at Onto. I know nothing about them really. It's just one that I've seen a little bit of marketing about. And there are loads of companies doing this now. I know Volvo are doing it directly, and 1 or 2 others are doing it directly. And I've got no affiliation with Onto whatsoever. They're not paying me to do this. It's just literally the first one I've found. All right, so do shop around if you're looking for a subscription, because for all I know, Onto might be really expensive. This is new to me too, all right? And the cars I've chosen, again, are completely at random. I've tried to look at cars with a reasonable sort of range, so hopefully they're all self-explanatory, fairly sensible choices. And for the leases, I literally just went to Lease Loco. I didn't look anywhere else. So that's the methodology I've used. Right, off we go. Okay, so here's the Renault Zoe. You can see this is £389 a month. By the way, this is the iconic R135 Rapid Charge. Payment £389, no upfront deposit, 1 month commitment, 1,000 miles per month. insurance and breakdown, free charging, maintenance and servicing, fancy extras included. By fancy extras, the cars are often a bit higher spec than a standard spec car. So things like metallic paint, sometimes slightly nicer wheels or something like that will come on the car. May even have additional option boxes ticked, but they will always have things like metallic paint, which you wouldn't always get included in a lease. All right. So I've just mentioned that first bit once because that's the same on all of these cars. So the on-to thing always includes the 1,000 miles a month, insurance breakdown, free charging, maintenance servicing, and the extras. They're saying the lease there is 1,100 quid up front and 390, so they're giving you a comparative lease price. I found sort of a real world lease price, so you can see my high quality job I've done here with this. So I'm just going to shift this over a bit. There you go. Can't tell the difference, can you? It looks like it was just made by the web developers. So this is a real world lease price, all right? So I found it for 353 per month with 238 quid up front, 1,000 miles a month, and I'm just making an assumption that the insurance and breakdown's 40 quid and the maintenance and servicing's a fiver, okay? I'm just going to make, for those couple of bits, I'm going to make the same assumption on all of them. What I'm not doing is including anything for the free charging because it's very difficult to quantify how much that's going to cost. Secondly, you might not ever use it. You might just charge at home every day. And thirdly, we don't know how good that network really is. We don't know where those 11,000 chargers are. We don't know how available they might be. We don't know if they're in working order. So your use case may differ. So I'm not factoring that into any of this at all. All right. Okay. And the fancy extras, I'm not including any. So I've found a lease for 404, even on a 24-month lease. I'm looking at 24 months, by the way, because it's generally the shortest lease you can find on most of the sites. You're tied into that one for 2 years. You're putting 238 quid down. It's 353 quid a month, but you've then got to do your own insurance and your maintenance. You either pay to the lease company or you're paying that yourself every time. So that's £404 a month. This one's 389 and you can stop it when you like. To me, that's a fantastic argument to subscribe to the car. All right, 389 quid a month seems steep at first. It's not bad. We are comparing this subscription price to one of the most expensive ways to lease a car. So remember that. We're looking at a 24-month deal, which is generally more expensive than a 36-month deal. And we're looking at no deposit or next to no deposit. And it's always going to be a bit cheaper if you stick a decent deposit down because you're not financing as much of the price, if you like. So bear that in mind. We're not comparing exactly like for like here. The other thing is, on your lease deal, your 1,000 miles a month would be 12,000 miles a year. On the subscription, it's 1,000 miles a month. Let's say you go on holiday, you drive the kids to Disneyland in Paris one month, and you do 1,500 miles or 2,000 miles. On your lease, that might be absolutely fine because most months you're only doing 300 miles, 400 miles, 500 miles. This on-to deal, from what I can see, that is a monthly limit. So if you want to increase your miles for that month, you will have to pay them a lot more money for that month. Where with the lease, it's an annual thing rather than a monthly thing. So with the subscription, it's a monthly limit. With the lease, it's a longer term limit. So remember that as well. That's quite an important point that we need to remember. Okay, so on the face of it, if you're comparing those two things, the subscription makes more sense, doesn't it? But let's look at the ID3 now, and I'm going to go straight to the real world comparison. So this is the Family Pro Performance ID3, and we're looking at 589 quid a month with On2, and they're saying a comparative lease is 1,500 down and 513 a month. Well, the first one I've found is 250 quid down and 419 a month. Again, haven't factored anything in for that charging because it may or may not be relevant to you. They're saying 66 quid a month. So this one works out a fair bit cheaper, doesn't it? 110 quid a month less than the On2 thing, but obviously you're losing the flexibility. The purchase price of the car's gone up, and where On2 were slightly in the lead before, they're now just falling behind. Finally, we're going to look at the Tesla. I realised I've made a terrible error on this, so I've done some really high quality amendments to my graphic. I don't know if you can see that. I like to keep things professional, as you know. Okay, so this is the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. So this is probably the most popular Model 3, being the cheapest Model 3. Prices do go up quite steeply as you go up the model range from here. But this one's £1,100 a month from On2. Did give me a sharp intake of breath, to be honest, because £1,100 a month seemed massively expensive to me. They're suggesting a lease on that should be $812 a month with $6,000 up front, which is probably the Tesla lease, I would imagine. And maintenance and servicing is a bit more expensive on this, which is what flummoxed me in my calculations here. So I found that for £99 up front and £724 a month, 24 months, everything else the same. And I've just changed the maintenance and servicing on it. And that comes out at £804 a month versus £1,100. Now, £300 a month, bearing in mind you're limited to 1,000 miles, and you've probably got a charger at home, I would imagine, if you're going to buy an EV. Are you spending £300 a month on free charging? Nope. That's £300 a month is a lot to be paying for that flexibility. And obviously, if you also knock this up to a 36-month deal and had even less flexibility and maybe dropped a couple of grand as a deposit, you're probably getting this somewhere around about £550 a month. And then you factor in these other bits, you're talking £650 a month versus £1,100. To me, that doesn't make sense. So the pros and cons of subscription versus leasing. Pros are flexibility, right? There's no long tie-in. You can change the car quite frequently. If you have the car for 3 months, you decide you don't fancy it or it's not meeting your expectations, get another one, send it back. You're usually getting a higher spec car, so you might have 1 or 2 option boxes ticked. You might have metallic paint. You might have nicer wheels, something like that. All your insurance and maintenance and everything else is included. So you've just got one bill for your car, essentially. And if you can use those free chargers, you might just have one bill full stop for running the car. So no fuel, tax, no insurance, nothing. No MOTs, obviously. You've just got that one bill every month. And includes the use of the chargers. But as we said, you have to remember how often you're seriously going to be using one of those 11,000 chargers, if they're always available when you want to use them, and you're tied to 1,000 miles a month. So again, that's going to limit how often you're going to be using them. Right, cons, charges for pickup and delivery. So you don't get that with a lease. It's £49.50 every time, which I don't think is unreasonable, because if you're chopping and changing the car every 2 minutes, it could get fairly pricey. Limited mileage per month, and that's because that's, as I said before, that's per month rather than on a per deal basis. So if you have one really heavy mileage month but you're usually a fairly low user of the car, from what I can see, you'd have to pay more that month. Not always the cheapest option. Not always the cheapest option. So as we saw there, the Renault Zoe seemed to make a lot more sense than the Tesla did, didn't it? So who's it for? Because I still think there's a market for that Tesla even at that price. So let's have a look at exactly who this is for. Okay, so these are the groups of people I think that it's really going to suit. Let's say you are considering spending a lot of money on a car. Think about one of those Teslas, for example, and you're thinking of dropping 40, 50 grand on one, and half an hour test drive's just not going to cut it. You could get one for a month. It's going to cost you a lot of money, but you could have one for 1 month, live with it for a month before you make your buying decision. And there will be some people that suits. They might even want to use it for a month and do a road trip in it and see how that works in the real world or something like that. That sort of ties into point 2, which is a test run of EV ownership. So if, like me, you've only ever had cars with internal combustion engines, and maybe you do a long commute or you regularly go and visit family at the other end of the country or something like that, and you're not sure how in reality the EV is going to work and how easy it's going to be to charge it when you want to, how much of a hassle it becomes, how much time you spend thinking about charging your car rather than driving your car, and all those doubts people have about having EVs, because they're going to have them for a few years to come until the network massively improves and range improves in the cars. So having one of those cars for maybe a month or two as a little trial run to see how it works in real life in your use case, it's probably not a bad shout, is it? Then there's those of you that might be in between cars. So let's say you've ordered your new car, you've ordered a lease or something, or you're waiting to get a company car, and you've just sold your existing car, or your existing lease has gone back, and you've got a 2-month gap or something where you haven't got a car and you need one. You can just go and rent one there for 2 months, and it's a fairly easy sort of one-stop solution, isn't it? Hassle-free. Some people just want one bill and they don't want any hassle. They don't want to have to be changing this, that and the other. And from what I can see, you couldn't get sort of more hassle-free than something like this, whereby you order a car, it turns up, you use an app on your phone, you get in it and you drive off. And when you don't want it anymore, you let them know on the app and they come and take it away. So you don't have to worry about your insurance, that's all dealt with, all those kind of things. So I think some people that just want hassle-free, it's going to make sense for. And then 5 is money, no object. If you favour like the flexibility over anything else, and you just want to be able to have what you want when you want it, and you're not bothered about if it's a cheap deal or a good deal or anything like that, then it's also going to make a great deal of sense for you. I don't think it's always a bad deal, this is my point. And I previously, before I really started looking into it to make this video, I thought it was a rip-off, and I no longer feel like it's a rip-off. What I do feel like is there are some people that this is going to really work for, and some people who are going to run a mile from it. As a short-term solution, is this a good one for you? But is it a good long-term solution at the moment? Again, with this one, it's just limited to EVs, so it does raise a few other things, like using it as a trial for EV ownership before you go and press go on a finance deal on an EV. I think it's an interesting segment of the market, and it's a new segment of the market, and it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. Hopefully, as with all these things, competition will increase in time, and the market gets bigger and prices come down. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to do another video like this shortly on used car subscriptions. I know a couple of people have asked me for that, and a couple of companies are now doing it. But I really want to just put a bit of research into it and tell you about it with a bit more information. So I'm not going to do that one just yet, but it is in the works. So what did you make of that? Were you surprised by my findings in that video? I think at the lower end, for the small car, for the Renault Zoe EV, it probably makes quite a lot of sense. I think as you go up the sort of price range, it seems to make less sense for me. I mean, the difference in price between the Tesla was pretty vast. A lot of it depends as well on that free charging, how often you're going to use that, and where those chargers are and how readily available they're going to be, and if they're working and if they've got queues at them and all that kind of stuff. Because you're restricted on the mileage, maybe that's not such a huge benefit as you might initially think. So that's something to give more consideration to. But let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and if you think it's completely crazy or if you think it's a good alternative to leasing. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. As I said at the start of the video, only 18% of people watching are subscribed, and I'd love that to be more. Well, I'd love that to be 100%, but I'd love it to be more like 25-30% of people watching and subscribed. So let's make that happen, and let's get as many likes as we can. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye bye.